Good evening, this is Lucky Lynx. This is a topic that a lot of people deal with. If you do readings, you deal with this topic. If you get readings, you deal with this topic. If you're just trying to make a change in your life, bring something new in your life, make something new happen in your life, you deal with this topic. This has to do with time and when is something going to happen. A lot of times, I'll tell you it from my perspective, what I see, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. First of all, I always like to watch for contradictions in what some of these popular teachings out there are telling people. Things like, there is time, it is timeless, there's no such thing as time. Okay, well, that may be true. Let's just go ahead and say that that is true. Let me use this analogy. I know there's a place called Brazil. I've spoken to people from Brazil. I know in Brazil they speak Portuguese. I do not speak Portuguese. Knowing that there's a Brazil does not mean I'm in Brazil, does not mean I can suddenly go to Brazil and fluently speak Portuguese. I've got to start where I'm at here in California, and then I'd have to start by using my understanding of English to bridge the gap between English and Portuguese, and then being able to go there and communicate with an individual. So there's all these people out there right now who are going, timelessness. There's no such thing as time. Do you like my new age voice? There's no such thing as time. We are timeless. Timelessness. Yes, but we are in this body. We are human beings in this body, and you cannot get to timelessness immediately. And you can't get it by imagining you're timeless because, well, you're still stuck in your body. That said, you guys have all had the experience who do readings. So I'm going to talk about it from the side of where you do readings. Where you got someone who's like, well, when's it going to happen? And you're like, okay, well, there's going to be a change. And it's going to go in your favor, and it's going to follow through, and you're going to, it looks like what you need is going to be there in time. Or it looks like you're going to meet someone. Or it looks like, and then you'll get the questions. When's it going to happen? What day? How long? What are they going to look like? What is it? And you're like, it's coming. Let it come. Time is a weird thing. Time is a strange thing to have to predict. Time does not work the way people think it does. So, sometimes it'll come along, I'm like, oh, it feels like a couple months, maybe a couple of months is going to come in. I'm like, when it happens, but it's coming. Watch it this summer, usually, when I sit down to read for a person for the first time, the first reading I do for them usually covers about 2 to 3 years. Usually stuff still coming through 2 to 3 years into it. My more regular clients, things tend to happen. I tend to get sort of a beat on some of the things that happen more short term. Sometimes things shift. So here's the thing. Someone's waiting for someone to come in their life and make a change. It's like, well, yeah, someone's coming. It feels like someone's coming. It feels like it's probably going to happen this summer. Well, when? Where are they going to be? Where am I going to meet them? What's their name? What do they look like? It's like, hold on, Christina. It's coming. Isn't that enough? So, and we do this. And I'm not criticizing because we do this too. We'll be doing a reading for ourselves and we're like, when's it going to come? When's it come? There's a really good lesson in the I Ching about this. The I Ching talks about, the one thing I love about the I Ching, and the reason that to read the I Ching is to watch the natural cycle of the elements, how natural events happen. And one of the things in the I Ching, one of the hexagrams, and I believe it's one of the changes. I don't know if it's one of the changes that's happening to one of the hexagrams or one of the hexagrams itself, where the image is of rain clouds are gathering and you just have to wait. The rain's coming. You can see the clouds. It's going to rain. Just give it a chance to rain. And nothing you do can change the fact. Unless you bring geoengineering into it, but that's a whole other subject. But the fact is that you can see quite often when you do a reading for someone, you'll see the rain clouds are gathering. Yeah, it's going to rain. You're going to get what you need. It's going to follow through. Well, what? Which one? Let it happen. The point is, when we get so nitpicky and control freaky, and we want to control everything, we interrupt and sidetrack and derail whatever's coming our way. So, yeah, the train's coming, but you were so, you had to control so much that you took the track off that the train was going to arrive, and now it's going to derail before it ever gets to you. So if you give readings, be aware that people may be doing this. It's like, look, just give it a chance to develop. It's coming. It's coming. Let it come. When people get so, when's it going to come? How's it going to go? Just come. Because that other stuff stops it, derails it from coming, or puts it in a different direction, or changes it. Sometimes something will be coming real nice, and then people put all of their fear and anxiety in it, and it turns out to be something not so pleasant. Your energy, your mind stuff, your energy, this, and how you view it is very important to what you get. Okay? So, if you get readings, okay, yeah, something is coming. Yes, he is. You can even describe the person to him. Well, he seems to feel like this, but sometimes that shifts. Sometimes the perfect person shifts and someone else steps into that role who's the same sort of thing. It's like, well, there's an individual who's going to step into the role, and this is what it feels like. Sometimes I'll just say simply, I feel a new partnership coming in, and the partnership looks and feels like this. Well, how do I know it? Because it'll look and feel like this. That's the partnership. When you see look and feels like this, it's lining up. Then you know. Take this step next. So, controlling the outcome. When people get all... I understand people resort to this because they're uncertain, they're afraid, they want security. They want to be reassured. And that's great. You can reassure them. Yeah, it's coming. She wants to know if a new job's coming. Okay, well, things seem to be stuck right now. There's a great deal of potential. If you take action in two different directions, you're likely to move. So if you make a choice, so in this case, I'd say, okay, she'd be like, okay, what's going to happen? Am I going to get a new job? Okay, if you actually make the decision, if you make a choice, either of the choices, and take action, you're going to move in the right direction. It's going to take you in a whole new direction, which is going to lead you to success. And that's really all you need to say right now. It's like, well, what will it look like? Where will it... Okay. Give it a chance to develop to that point, and then you can see what develops next. Be happy with the fact that your actions are bearing fruit. Sometimes when we micromanage the situation so much, we limit greater potential. When we try to control everything, we limit the greater potential. So if you're getting a reading, be open to the possibility that it might even be bigger or more wonderful than you'd ever thought. But when you're trying to control it and put your anxiety on it and your demands, when, how, okay. You may interrupt the greater reward, miracle, whatever's coming your way. And if you're doing readings for people and they're doing this to you, you can say, hey, let's step back for a minute. Let's take a breath. Know that something's coming here, and if we put all this other stuff on it, because then what starts to happen from this side of you, those who don't, and even, by the way, those of you who are just making a change in your life and you're not consulting cards or anything, know this. Take the steps that you're going to take, make the decision, and allow it to start to develop the way that you want it, and then watch it. Watch the signs if it's developed. But if you're like this, and it's like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? You're standing in the way of it developing. And sometimes this is the hardest thing in the world, but it's like planting a seed. It's like if you give it too much water, if you give it too much light, if you give it too much soil, you're going to kill it. You're going to burn it. You're going to smother it. Allow it to grow a little bit. So when everyone's trying to micromanage, it's like, look, be patient, allow it to happen. It's coming your way. Make the decision, make a choice here, and you're going to start to see things developing your way. Otherwise, what's the fun in the, well, I'm going to micromanage and control everything? It's like that never ends well for people. And people who use this to try to manage, I'm going to tell you, if everything that you see constantly every day comes to pass, you are taking no risks, you are not growing, and your world is probably this big because you are simply reiterating the same habits and the same things that you've got going on over and over and over again. When the wild card comes in and you're like, whoa, there's a wild card in the picture. Oh, look at that. I opened right to the wild card. I opened right to things drastically change. When things drastically start to change, things can get a little wild, and then you know that you're going in a different direction maybe that you've never been before. And then you can start to say, okay, well, let's see what looks like it's coming this way. And then you can start to see the options, the possibilities that are coming out of it. So I know a lot of people are at that stage of fear where they're so afraid that, if anything changes, they're going to be so uncomfortable. It's like, oh, okay, I get that. But if you really want to make changes in your life, you really want to grow, you really want to see success happen, sometimes the cards are going to look wild and woolly, and there's going to be surprises that come out, especially if you make a decision that you're going to take control of your fate. So this whole, I am time, okay, great, yeah. Let's say for argument there is no such thing as time. In which case, it is very hard to be able to say this day, this hour, this, because time doesn't move that way. Okay, so don't in one moment run around telling everyone there is no such time, and then in the next moment go, well, when's it gonna happen? It's like, which do you believe? There is no time, or that your life is ruled by minute, hour, second? I'm Lucky Lynx, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. I like the one thing about this over the years, and I can say this because I've made every single mistake there is to make with the tarot, is that you can watch how silly you are. You can see your own habits and how silly you are. We can see how silly we are, and we can see when we're being absolutely silly and getting in our own ways. And this is one of the times we get in our own way. When? How? Why? When it comes, isn't it enough to know that it's coming? Let it develop. If you plant a rose bush, you can be pretty sure it's going to be a rose bush. When it's going to be a rose bush tends to depend on how much you cultivate it, water it, tend it, and give it sunlight. If you'd like to get a reading, 779-302-8009, or you can email me at conjurehope@gmail.com. If you'd like to take a class in how to read advanced to intermediate tarot, or how to read Lenormand, how to read a crystal ball, how to read Mexican Loteria cards, or how to read, what are they? Playing cards. Or if you'd like to take a class in Lenormand Grand Tableau, which I'm doing right now too, contact me. I'll tell you all the details, what the fees are, and the like. So you go out there, be reassured that something coming in your way, and you're moving in a new direction, and you're moving towards a more safe, a more prosperous place when you see it, and let the other stuff start to develop more organically, and watch for the signs for when it does organic, but don't stand in its way by making demands. We as humans make all sorts of demands. We demand things from time. We demand things from space. We demand things from the world of the dead. We demand things from the supernatural. And in the end, all that really ends up doing is showing us how very little we are in control.